Hey fourth grade parents. Welcome to Google Classroom. We are in Riley's Google account right now. I made Riley one of my students, and when I put the class code in for Riley to join my class, it opened her up to this page right here. This is our stream page. This is a really nice beginning to Google Classroom. When you come in here, you'll see right away that it's my classroom. Over here on the left, you'll see a quick view of some of the assignments that you have coming up, and you have the option to go to all your assignments right away. And over here, I have my first post. I can post here on the stream little announcements for you, things that aren't necessarily assignments, just things that I want you to know. So here was my welcome to Google Classroom, and I wanted you to watch this video, so I attached that here. Down here, everybody in our class has the opportunity to write comments on my posts. So if you'd like to talk to one another or say something to me, you are welcome to do that. I want to remind you that in this spot, we can all see your comments. As soon as you hit this arrow, I can see your comment, even if you delete it. Up here, Riley wrote, well, I wrote it for Riley, but Riley wrote, "Hi everybody, I miss you." If she deletes this, the class won't be able to see it, but I will. So be careful what you write, use your words wisely and kindly, and use our page with respect so that we can all enjoy it together. So I'm going to delete that. The teacher would still be able to see it, but her classmates can't. If I want to type in there, "Hi everybody, I miss you a lot," and then I press the green arrow, and there it is up for everybody to see. Okay, this is a pretty cool spot. So this is our stream spot. I kind of think of this as more of a social space, not necessarily social where the kids can just talk back and forth to one another. It should have something to do with our classroom, but it isn't an assignment page. This is not where you will find your assignments in these posts. These are more announcements. Here is a shortcut to your assignments, but I have a better place for you to see those. Okay. Let's get into when you put your class code in, it jumped you right into Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. But normally when you go into the 3 dots up here, when you go into the 9 dot form, they call that one the waffle, I think. When you go over here to that and click that usually and get Google Classroom, it will actually take you to the class page that looks like this. Now, Riley is a member of 3 different classes. Mrs. Howard uses Google Classroom, so she's a member of the PE class. Mrs. Smoker uses Google Classroom, so she's a member of the pre-algebra class. And now she's a member of my class as well, so she can see all 3 of her classes. This is a kind of a cool page for Riley. You won't need to use it as much because you can just hop into my class. But here, Riley can see all 3 of her classes, and from this page, she can shortcut right into PE. She can click into this assignment for PE that's due today. She can click into Mrs. Hatzfeld's class and click into any of these 3 assignments that are due. And it's kind of like a little shortcut for her. These 3 dots up here don't really do much for her. You can move classes around and switch the order of things. It's a preference on what your class page looks like. You almost think of this as like your 7th grade class page. So it's all of 7th grade. And then each one of these is your classroom. So she could move those classrooms around inside her class page. Do not hit unenroll. I don't want you to unenroll from 4th grade. Stay in here with me. So you don't want to hit that at all. Here's a cool shortcut. This takes you right into your work that's due for me. This would take her right into her pre-algebra work and right into physical education work. And then these guys are cool too because for each classroom, she gets a Google a folder in her Google Drive. So there's a folder in her Google Drive called PE grade 7. There's also one called Pre-Algebra 7th grade, and she'll have one called Mrs. Hatzfeld's class 4A in her Google Drive. And that helps her to organize her papers and her assignments. Every assignment that she turns in to her teachers, there is also a copy of it saved in her Google Drive in the folder for each class. So that's a really nice feature. I'll show you Google Drive in a little bit. So I'm going to come back to these hamburgers, and I can go into my classes through the hamburger, or I can go into my class through one of these. Calendar. Here's our calendar. You can see that each of the assignments is color-coded. That is because Riley's in 3 different classes. So her pink coincides with the pre-algebra class, the orange coincides with PE, and the green coincides with my class. You'll see an awful lot of assignments for March 30th, and I'm going to come back to that. These are all the assignments that we have actually assigned already. They were done in the past 2 weeks. Some of you have hit every single assignment, and I have everything. Others of you got a little bit behind or maybe didn't start right away, and you need a little bit of extra time to turn those in. That's fine, but this gives you a nice little list of what it is that you need to do. For those of you who did it already, I'm going to show you a really cool way that you can tell whether or not you've done an assignment. There's Tonka talking to us. Inside the calendar, if you see an assignment in the calendar, you can actually click on that assignment and it'll take you right to the assignment page, which is a neat feature also. This assignment page is going to come back to us in a little bit. I'm going to come back to one of these, but for now I just want to show you that you can get to it through that beginning or through the calendar. So we were back at the calendar. There we are. Okay, I'm going to go back to those hamburgers and I will show you the to-do list. The to-do list is more of like a to-do list for 7th grade or for all of 4th grade work. So if like Mrs. Schneider would give you a classroom and Miss Meckling would give you a classroom, you could see all of your work in one spot. We don't really need this in 4th grade because there's a spot inside my classroom that also has a little assignment list for you, but I'm going to show it to you. Here's your to-do list. So if you see here, look, here's pink for pre-algebra, there's orange for physical education, and here's green for me. It lists them in missing, no due date, due today, due tomorrow. And I can toggle that a little bit and I can just show all physical education things that I need to do. I can show, and again, missing, due today. I can show just pre-algebra things and I can show just Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, which is what you would want. I can also see here what has been done. Now, if you can see, Riley doesn't have anything done for Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. I'm going to show you how to mark things done so that they show up in this folder so that you can keep your to-do list nice and up to date. Okay, so that's our to-do list. Again, you might not use this to-do list because there is a list of assignments inside my classroom that I can show you as well. All right, let's come back and we're going to, I think, go right into my classroom. I'll show you settings real quick. Settings lets you change your profile picture. This could be a cool assignment for you to do on Monday. I'm going to give you Monday to listen to this video, to play around with Google Classroom, to mark your assignments as done, to catch up on assignments that you haven't completed, and this is one of the things that you can do. So you can change your profile. So I can hit that and I can upload a photo, which means I can select one from my computer. So I would click this and I would select any photo from my computer that I want to put there. You can go to your photos. So Riley has, I think his name is Luca. He's a basketball player. She's in love. So she has him as her profile picture. You can choose anything you'd like. If you don't choose anything, it will show up as your initial. Mine's a big orange circle with a white K in it. So yours will just show up with your initial. If you don't change that, that's fine. This will show up in the top right-hand corner of your page when you are in your Google account, not just your Google Classroom, your Google account. Okay? Down here shows email notifications. Parents, this is kind of for you. These emails will go to your child's account. I know we're not really using their email accounts for elementary, so it's not too big of a deal, but you might not want them to get all of those emails. That's up to you. You can pick and choose what you want to put here. I would say to keep invitations to join classes as a student, keep that on just in case any of the specialist teachers invite them to a Google Classroom. And other than that, I don't see anything on here that they really need because I will be in touch with them, helping them to figure out what they're missing and what they need. Okay? All right, so that's settings. Let's go into Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. There we are. So we're back in the stream, and I'm going to come up here to classwork. Classwork is where I would suggest they go almost right away in the morning. So they can come to stream and see if I have an announcement. That's actually a nice thing to do. See if anybody said anything to them. See if they want to say anything to the class. And then when they want to check on what is assigned that day, they're going to want to come into classwork. So here we are in our classwork page. I have organized our classwork into subjects. So they call them topics. So my topics are religion, math, language arts, social studies. Materials are not assignments. I made a materials topic to house anything that I want the children to have, such as maybe like a multiplication chart, or I was thinking of putting their an Excel sheet in here for their reading log. Anything in there that I want them to have access to all the time that doesn't necessarily pertain to one subject. It pertains in just like materials that I want them to have available to them. So that will be here. Challenge and enrichment. These are for my kiddos who get finished their work in a snap and mom and dad are like, go do something else. So here's some, this logic problem I gave you, I think last week. I'll add some more to this area, and this will be for swag stars. I'm going to keep track of these. So they're not something that is mandatory. It'll just be for some swag stars. Inside here, you can now look and see what it is you have to do. So I'm going to come down here to my religion assignments, and I'm going to click on the first assignment that I gave you way back on March 16th, and it was to read a text, those 2 pages in your textbook. So this little thing here is a comment. I put that there so that you could see a kiddo commented on this assignment. So if you want to go back and see what your classmate said about that assignment, you can check that out. So I just clicked on the title. So I clicked on read text page 232, and it opens up a larger version of the assignment on my classwork page. It shows my attachments, it shows the instructions, and it'll show that it was assigned and it's due tomorrow. If I turn it in, this will show turned in. So I know that I did it. This little circle will also get grayed out if I turn it in. You can see here we have one class comment, and it was Riley, and she said, I loved these pages. So maybe someone else might want to comment, so did I, they were really interesting. So they're just these little comments that the kids can write back and forth. I encourage you, if you have a question for me, it should not go in the class comments. This is for student to talk to one another. I'm going to show you where you can put important questions for me. So I'm going to click down here to view assignment, and we're going to come to the big assignment page. And if you remember, we came to a page like this earlier in the tutorial, and I'm going to show you where it was. If you come back here to the 3 lines, and I go to classes, and remember, I could click on this assignment and come to the assignment page. I'm going to go back to the hamburger. We also got there through the calendar. I can click here and come right to the assignment page. So there's several ways that you can get to an assignment. I'm going to come back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. So I can either go to the 3 lines, go to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, or I can just click right here on Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. It always takes me back to the stream, which is a little bit annoying to me. I wish it could take me back to where I was, but I just have one click away. I'm in classwork again. Okay, I'm going to come back down to that religion assignment, and I'm going to click View Assignment, and now here I am. I've got my 2 pages to read. Class comments, remember these are only for each other, kids to kids. I might write in there, but it's not going to be anything important. It's just going to be replies to your comments, just fun little comments. Over here, this is where you can ask me a question. So maybe Riley wants to say, Mrs. H, I did not understand these pages. Please help me. And now that private comment is just for me, and only I will see that, and then I can answer Riley back. If Riley writes a comment in here and says, oh, that's not for Mrs. Hatzfeld, I can put that over here in the class comment, then she can delete it and come right back in here. Riley can also delete this comment if she'd like. But remember, I see deleted comments too, so be careful. Okay, so now let's say Riley read her religion and she wants to say, Mrs. Hatzfeld, I did it. I'm all finished. There was nothing I asked you to write. There was nothing I asked you to do except for read. So you don't need to add or create anything to turn in. You just have to mark it as done. So I'm going to mark this assignment as all finished. And it's going to say, wait, you didn't attach any work. That's okay because my teacher didn't need any work for this one, so I'm still going to mark it as done. And now, here's the cool part. I'm going to come back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class and go back to classwork and take a look at the assignment now. Now the assignment is grayed out, so I can see it's finished. If I click back on it, it says turned in. And I'm going to come back over here to that to-do list and watch what happens. I'm going to come to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class and I'm going to look at the done stuff, and there's the thing I finished. Yay for Riley, got one done. All right, I'm going to come back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. I'm going to go back to classwork. So one of the things I want you to be able to do on Monday is I want you to go through each assignment and I want you to mark it as finished, turn in what you need to turn in. If you already turned something in, you already took pictures of it, don't send them again. Don't send them through Google Classroom. Do not worry about it, I have them. But if you didn't do an assignment yet, mark it in here and turn it in here, okay? To open one of these assignments, I click on the title, and to shrink it back, I click on the title again. So I shouldn't really use the word open, I should use extend. I'm just extending the assignment. If I really want to view it and turn it in, I need to click View Assignment. Okay, I'm going to come back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, back to classwork, and go up to, I'm going to shrink that again, go up to Lenten Journey. So I'm going to click on Lenten Journey. It says I need to color my blocks every day. I'm going to view the assignment and I'm going to say, oh, yep, I'm all caught up on that. So I'm going to mark that as done too. Yay for me. Going to come back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, back to classwork. Now, do you see how I have to keep going back and forth? If I wanted to, I can come all the way up to the top and hit view my work. If I hit view my work, it shows all of my work in one spot. So if you see, here's my religion textbook that I needed to read. Here's that comment that Riley wrote. Here it is turned in. Look up here at Lenten Journey. Lenten Journey is turned in. Now the thing about my assignment page is that it does not show up in topic order. It shows up in date order. So I could do everything for 316 first. I can see them all first, and then 317, then 318, and so on. So this is more of a date order. Okay, so if I hit daily review quiz. Now no work has been attached. I'm going to view the details, get back to that assignment page. If I went to Rediker and I did my 316 daily review quiz, that's already finished. I can mark that as done. Yep, mark as done. And now, oh, now I was thinking that you could go right into the next assignment, but you do still have to come back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, back to classwork, and go again. So it's really a preference for you of whether you like to see it like with each assignment underneath its subject, or if you like to see it in date order. I'm going to come back to these filters in a little bit and show you what they mean. All right, let's come right back to classwork one more time. Actually, a couple more times because I want to show you a couple more things. So again, you're going to go through each of these and tell me whether or not you've done them. So if you read text page 234, you're going to click on the assignment. You're going to mark it as done. Yay for me. Go back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, back to classwork. Shrink that, go to journal entry. Now here's a good one. I want to hit journal entry and I'm going to view the assignment. Here are my instructions and I need to write a journal entry. Now some of you already wrote this journal. You took a picture of it and you sent it to me. So you would click on turn in and be finished. I wonder if I can, okay, good. That was not there before. I put that in there for Riley. So this is what you would see when you hit journal entry. That document would not have been there. So you would see this. If you did this already, if you did your journal and you took a picture and you sent it to me, you're going to mark as done. If you're one of those kiddos who did not do this journal entry, you can either write it on a piece of paper and take a picture of it and add it that way, or you can add a document. So I'm going to add and click on Docs. And Docs is just like Word. So I'm going to come into Docs and it's going to pull up a document. And I'm going to tab because you know we have to indent, and I'm going to write this week in Lent was very productive. I gave up chocolate and only cheated one time. Unfortunately, that's true, but I was making Sydney's cake and I needed to taste the chocolate icing to make sure it was good. It was a completely selfless act. So we used to come up here and hit share. We do not need to do that anymore because we are inside Google Classroom and all changes have saved in the drive. So I'm actually just going to X out. And I know that's painful for some of us because we're like, no, I want to save my changes. They're already saved. So I'm going to X out of that. And there it showed up. There's Riley's document. It has her name on it. If I click back into it, you'll see that everything's saved. There's her little journal. Now you're going to write more than that. But there's her little journal. I'm going to X back out of it. And I can now turn that in. So I'm going to turn it in. Here's the attachment that it says that I turned in. Yay for me. Turning it in, and I am done. If I go back to classwork, it will show me that my journal is all finished and I turned it in. Turned in. Now I'm going to go back and review that assignment again because maybe I said, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell Mrs. Hatzfeld about that I did something nice for my neighbor. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to unsubmit it. Yes, I'm sure I want to unsubmit it. And I'm going to click it again. I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to say, I helped my neighbor by mowing his lawn. Oh gosh, my neighbor or my neighbor, there it is, by mowing his lawn. And now I want to add that. So I'm going to X back out because it's already been saved. And now I can turn it in again. And if you don't believe it, I'm going to show you. There it is, all saved. That added sentence that I just wrote. Okay, so I'm Xing out and I'm going to turn that one in. And now I'm finished. Mrs. Hatzfeld's going to get it. I should say Riley's finished. Okay, I'm coming back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. Going back to classwork. I'm going to shrink that and go to my next lessons. Okay. Going up the way. Oh, let me go back to your journal. Let's see. Let's go to the next journal, Lenten journal. So let's go to this journal and let's say you can't get to the computer this time. Your mom asks you to write it out on a piece of loose leaf. So you're going to write it out and you're going to take a picture. You take the picture and you email it to yourself and save it to your computer. What I can do now is I can say add or create, and I can link a file, and I can link a picture. So I'm going to come up here to select files from your device. This is your computer. These up here are your Google Drive, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But if I clicked recent, they would be recent Google Drive documents that Riley has used. Recent uploads or uploads that she has, and here shows me everything in her Google Drive. Starred is a pretty cool option. I'll show you that a little bit later when we talk about using Google Drive, but you can star documents and they show up in here. Okay, but I don't want to do any of that. I want to add or create by linking a file from my computer, and I'm going to link a picture of my journal, but I don't have a picture of a journal, so I'm going to link a picture of little Sammy playing softball in the yard. I'm going to upload that. Sammy's coming over to check herself out. All right, so this says Sammy softball in the yard, but really it would be your journal. So we can click on it because Sammy's here, and she went, oh, there's little Sammy playing softball in the yard. Okay, so now I'm going to turn that in. Yep, all turned in. And Mrs. Hatzfeld will get that like immediately, real time. Like I have it already. I could show it to you in my Google Classroom that has been turned in by Riley. All right, back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, back to classwork. So now you have an idea of how to take these assignments, do them, turn them in, or mark them as done so that you have a nice list here. So those parents who ask me, I need a list of everything that we have done so far to make sure that my kiddo is on track. Here's your list, parents, and you just have to mark them as done. So that's your job on Monday. I'm not really assigning anything on Monday. Your job on Monday is to play with Google Classroom and mark everything as done if you did it. If you have something that your child didn't do, they can catch up on that on Monday, and I'll be available for questions if you have them on how to turn things in or navigate the system, whatever you need. I'm going to show you one other thing that I think is really cool, and that's back up here. I'll quick show you this. Here's Liberty's Kids, and that'll attach right to your video. So you can click that and that'll start Liberty's Kids right away for you. If you have not done the video guides on these, I ask you to email me because I'm going to show you how to do it. I actually have all of the video guides in the materials section. From now on Tuesday, when I give you a Liberty's Kids to do, the episode guide, the video guide, will actually show up in your assignment as a Google Doc. And you can click on it and you can type right in it without changing it, without saving it, without sharing it. You just type in it and close it, and then you hit the assignment button and turn it in. That's it. It's going to be so easy. Okay, now the only thing that gave me trouble was PDFs. So when I gave you guys that logic problem last week, some of you might not have done it, so this might be new to you, but some of you did. And when you got the logic problem, you had to print it out onto paper do it on paper, and then send it to me. And that's fine. We can still do that. You can take pictures of things and still, remember, if you view the assignment, you can take a picture and you can add or create it right into this file. But you could also click on this document, and it's a PDF, which means I can't write in it. PDFs don't let you do that. And it's hard to go from a PDF that looks like this to Google Docs because of all the tables, it doesn't transfer right. So what I did was I downloaded something called Kami, and this is a really cool program. So when you open up Logic Problem, you can open it with Kami, and that'll be there on your screen as soon as you open it, because I sent it with Kami. So I'm going to open that up, and now I can do this logic problem with the drawing tools of Kami. So kiddos, we've done these logic problems together. Parents, I don't know if you've seen these before, but you have to figure out, Hannah, Jack, Cassie, and Paul all went to a party, and they each took a present with them. One was a game, one was a doll, one was a kite, one was a basketball, and then each of them, I guess, has a favorite color, I think. Oh, what color balloon they went home with. So based on the clues down here, you have to figure out what present Hannah brought to the party and what color balloon she went home with. So in order to do these logic problems, when you find something out, you put an X in a square if you know it can't. So if we know Hannah did not bring a game, we would put an X in that square. If we know Hannah did bring a doll, we would put a circle in that square. Now in the instructions, I told them that they could play around with Kami and do whatever they'd like. So maybe they want to go up to markup and they want to do a box highlighter. And whenever they find something that is not true, they can make it red. Whenever they find something that is true, they can make it green. So if you look down here, it says, Hannah did not bring the doll as a gift. So I would come up to Hannah, I would get my red box highlighter. She did not bring the doll. So I'm going to mark a red box in doll. Or I could put a red X in doll. Look, I can get a drawing tool, make it red, and put a red X there. Whatever I want to do. But I got to pick two things and stick with them. So a red and a green box, an X and an O, whatever you want. Here's shapes. You could pick a triangle and a circle. So I could put a triangle in the boxes that are no's and a circle in the boxes that are yeses. However you want to make this work, you can make it work that way. Here's an eraser. But this allows the kiddos to write right inside a PDF, and then they can turn it into me. So I erased everything, but I'm going to come over here to the markup again. I'm going to hit box highlighter. I'm going to hit red. Hannah did not bring a doll, but she did go home with a blue balloon. So in green, I'm going to say, ooh, she did go home with a blue balloon. And then here's what's really cool. If I know she went home with a blue balloon, I know she did not go home with green, she did not go home with red, and she did not go home with orange. So those boxes can be red. And that's how they can fill that in. Look up here, it says saved. It's already saved, so I don't need to worry about saving it. I'm going to X out, go back, and it would show up in my classroom as all finished. I'm going to turn it in. And now Riley's logic problem is finished. Now let me show you one thing, because this can be worrisome if you do it. When you first pull that out, like this was Riley's old one, but if I open with Kami, I'm going to see the changes that we just did. Okay, so I'll see that in my computer on my Google Classroom. All right, I'm going to X back out, go back out, and I'm all done. I'm going to go back into Mrs. Hatzfeld's classroom, back to classwork. Okay, Now, let me show you up here. We saw view our work, and do you recognize that little symbol there? That little symbol was also back here in my hamburger when I went to classes. Remember, it was right here. So I can go right from here into my assigned work page. I'm going to go back to the filters now. So I can filter it with assigned things. Here are things that were returned with a grade. So when you give them to me, upload them in that little turn-in box, I get them right away, and then I get to actually grade them right inside the system, and I can return it to you so you can see it. I can even return it to you and ask you to make corrections, and you would turn it back into me. And then there's a missing button for anything that she would be missing, that the date was past due. Okay, so those are those filters. And remember, this was there's all my assignments now unfiltered. And you can see assigned versus turned in. Remember, I turned in my Lenten journal. There's the attachment sign that says I attached it. And if there would be a comment on it, there would be a comment sign. I'm going to go back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. So remember, that was this little icon there. And if I go into Mrs. Hatzfeld's classroom and to classwork, it's also that icon right there. You can view all your work. Here I can get to the Google Calendar. I showed you that over here as well. There's your calendar. And here's that class drive folder that I told you I would give you a little bit more information on. If I click that, that takes me to Riley's Google Drive. And it takes me right into Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. So take a look. Now this was one that I attached earlier. I did a couple other videos. It's taken me a while to try to do this and do it concisely. I'm still already at 36 minutes. I apologize, but there's just so much I wanted to be able to show you, so you don't have to spend time playing. You already know how to do it. But here's that picture that I uploaded. Remember, and I said that was my journal. This was one I used in a different video that I deleted that video. Here's her logic problem paper that's saved in her class. Here's her journal that's saved in her class. So all of those files that we used, that we turned in, now show up in Mrs. Hatzfeld's class for her. Riley is in a different position than you. She has a big classroom, and in her classroom, remember, she had physical education and pre-algebra, and here's Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. So she has a folder for each of those classes. And then if she goes up one more level, that's her whole drive right here. So that's everything she's ever saved. So you can save your Google Drive or organize your Google Drive just like you organize your other files on your computer. If I come over here to my drive, I can get back into my classroom and back into any of those folders. Now remember, I talked about the star option. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that later. Okay, let's go back to Google Drive opens up in a different window, so I can close that. Here, if you would add something in there, like say I'm in my classwork and I add something else into my Google Drive, when I come back, if Google Drive's already open, you have to refresh the window, and this little guy will refresh it. So if I press that again, it kind of refreshes the window again for me. Okay, and then if I am outside of my folders, there's classroom folder right here, or I can come over here and click down, and there's the classroom folder. So I'm going to click classroom folder, and then Mrs. Hatzfeld's class again, and there are my files for Mrs. Hatzfeld's class. Okay, I'm going to X out of Google Drive. Remember, it opened up in a separate document. I'm sorry, a separate window. Okay, so I feel like that's pretty much all you really need to know. People just shows you all of the people in that. Well, actually, for you, it just shows you the teacher. I was thinking it showed you all your classmates, but it doesn't. It just shows your teacher. Now, I did invite all of you, so it might eventually list you all in there. I'm not actually really sure. You'll have to check that out. But there's no real reason for you to have to use the people. It just shows you who's attached to our classroom. Classwork. We went over all of that. Your stream, That's in there. Oh, let's take a look at this box just for a second. Remember, this showed me those things that were coming up. And look, one of those things is not there anymore because I already turned it in. If I hit view all here, it takes me back to that big assignment page that lists all my assignments in date order. And remember, I can filter them, assigned, returned with grade, or missing things that I have to do. If I take this arrow and go back, it still lists all the assignments without any of the filters, and then I can get back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class through here. I'm going to show you, I'm going to say one more thing, but you never know. Go back to classes here, and remember when I showed you those little shortcuts, I told you what the work looked like, the list of all the work. Remember that? That was that list back there with the filters. So go back to Mrs. Hatzfeld's class, back to classes. This button here was the Google Drive folder. So there's your shortcut to your Google Drive. So those two shortcuts are available on this page, but they're also available inside the classroom. So if I click this, it takes me back to that Google Drive that I just showed you. Okay, close that out. Gonna go into Mrs. Hatzfeld's classroom, back into Stream to where we began, and here we are. So if you feel good, I would love for you guys to write a comment to me in here. Just write, actually, if you don't feel good, tell me what you're feeling. I love Google Classroom. I think it's going to be great. Mrs. Hatzfeld, you led us astray. This stinks. Whatever you need to say in here, go for it. Just remember that the whole class gets to see it. Okay. Thanks for hanging with me for these 40 minutes. I know it was long, but I also hope that it saves you a lot of time trying to figure things out. Because you already know them. There are definitely some things in here that I can tell you, like the starred items for your Google Drive, organizing your Google Drive, things like that. But for now, I think that you have a really good start to Google Classroom. So remember, when you sit down Monday, you've already watched the video. You're at the end of that now. Write me a comment, then go into classwork and check off these things, turn them in, mark them as done. You can even leave me a comment that says, you know, like if you're checking in on, let's see, which one? Oh, Liberty's Kids. Let's say you're going to Liberty's Kids, you view the assignment, and you want to say, Mrs. Hatzfeld, remember, remember I sent this to you in week 1. And then you can mark it as done because you already did it. So you can write me that little comment if you're worried that I don't know that, or that I should have your Liberty's Kids thing in there. Many of you gave me the Google Doc or took a picture of it and sent it to me. So I do have a lot of your things already turned in. Okay, that's it. I'm going to stop talking so you can get out of here. Enjoy your Monday, and I will start posting assignments on here for Tuesday. Remember, Monday is your day to go through it, figure it out, see what you can do with it, mark your assignments as done, and I will also have some things up here in the challenge and enrichment section. If you have everything done, you can do a couple things in there. If you don't have everything done, try to catch up a little bit on Monday. All right, take care, 4th grade. I will talk to you soon. Bye.